Troy.
Thank you, Concordia. Well, Minister, you'll be aware of a problem that has arisen recently in relation to a conflict between the data protection legislation and the new preschool regulation compliance, where it's putting mandatory training placements in jeopardy, where the Garda vetting is not able to be transferable between the training organisation and the service providers where they're carrying out the mandatory training. And I'm just wondering if you could confirm to the House today, have you or do you intend to take any measures that will bring about a speedy and satisfactory resolution to this issue?
Minister.
Well, can I thank the Deputy for raising this issue. I am aware, of course, there's
I think
problem.
you're taking two other questions, eh?
Oh yes, 8 and 15?
8, 15 and 30, is that correct?
30 as well. Yes.
That's Deputy McConnell-Logue's questions along with this one. Thank you.
Yes. I am aware that a problem exists in relation to the sharing of student vetting information by training colleges with a third party. It is my understanding the timing issues between a student finding a placement with a service provider and the time they need to be in placement may not allow for the service provider to obtain Garda vetting on behalf of the student. In situations where training colleges process Garda vetting for their students and subsequently secure placement of these students in childcare settings, they are not permitted under current data protection regulations to release the vetting documents or copies to the childcare service. It is the position of the Officer of the Data Protection Commissioner that the disclosure of such information to other parties, even with the consent of the vetting subject, is not appropriate and could potentially undermine the integrity of the vetting process. Because of the requirements of the preschool regulation, service providers cannot accept students on placement unless the full Garda vetting documentation is available to them. This is to ensure clear responsibility for the vetting of those working with children in this area. I am anxious, Deputy, that this issue is fully examined in order to find a workable solution as quickly as possible. I absolutely agree with you, a workable solution has to be found. We have been in touch with the Data Protection Commissioner from my department, and I am arranging an urgent meeting to discuss this and a range of issues which relate to the delivery of childcare services. It's very important that we get a resolution to this because clearly it impacts on placement and on the training of childcare workers.
Thank you. Deputy Troy.
Thank you, Concordia. Well, Minister, I'm firstly glad you're aware and glad you're in the process of bringing about a resolution, but no, you haven't given any answer today as to how that resolution is going to be brought about. And I asked the very similar question to the Minister for Justice in relation to his role in the data protection, and he said back that I understand in the course of audits of childcare providers, the HSC has sought a certified copy of the Garda vetting disclosure to be provided to the relevant childcare provider. It is the view of the Data Protection Commissioner that this is not necessary. In September 2013, the Data Protection Commissioners wrote to all colleges in question and to the HSC, suggesting that a written confirmation that a college has vetted a person is sufficient confirmation that the Garda vetting process has been complied with. Do you concur with that, Minister? Would you be happy that, bearing in mind that these people are only going in for a process of a mandatory training, that if the college or institution of further education goes to the trouble, ensures that they're fully complied with the Garda vetting, that a letter from that organisation to the childcare provider, the service provider, would be sufficient to ensure that their placement can go ahead and that they can finish out their training? Would that satisfy you, Minister? If so, can you now put in place whatever needs to be done to ensure that this can go forward?
Minister.
Well, what's really important is that the integrity of the vetting procedure is maintained. That's what's critical. If there is any question that the Data Protection Commissioner feels that that won't happen, if there isn't a separate vetting, then I have to resolve that with him. If he is satisfied with that, then it is a question of us further examining the preschool regulations to see if the resolution which you're suggesting is acceptable. And that is what we are currently examining. And as I say, on the face of it, if there has been a very recent vetting, clearly one would hope that that would suffice. But I do have to make the point that this has arisen in a number of times in other areas in regard to vetting, where even if somebody has been vetted by an organisation previously and they move to work in another setting, the integrity of the Garda vetting has taken the approach that a separate vetting is necessary. So I realise the impact this has on training at present, and I will work to ensure as quick a resolution as possible.
Thank you. Deputy McConnell, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Laskin Corla. Minister, just want to give you an idea of how this is actually impacting in, say, Donegal, for example. Currently, the numbers affected are estimated at 400 students across the county, with Letterkenny IT's next placement period just having commenced there at the end of January. Currently as well, Donegal Education Training Board courses, they require the Garda vetting procedures secure work placement, and they're running them in Donegal Town, Stranorlar, Lettermack Award, Gorta Hork, Milford, Letterkenny, Maville, and in total they have 180 students currently running under their programme placement alone. There are approximately 200 students in LYAT's early education, health and social care programmes at present. Additional early childhood programmes offered by private teaching organisations are estimated to be around 60 in the county. It's also expected to have an impact on community employment workers in placements with children, and currently DLDC have 51 placements and Inishowen Partnership have 21. For many of those, Minister, at the moment who are already in a situation where they need to have started their placement, many have had to go out in placements which are not directly related to childcare, for example, because of the fact that the Garda vetting issue is ongoing.
Thank you.
So I think it's absolutely crucial that we have a resolution to this very quickly. I might ask you if you've got any engagement up until now, if you can elaborate more on what's happened up to this point in time, and if also you can put a time frame in place as to when you expect this, hopefully a practical resolution of this to be finalised. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy McConnell. Clearly it is a very urgent issue. Can I say that if it is not possible for the Garda vetting and the clearance that has been given to the colleges to be deemed sufficient for the placement, I would point to the fact also that the Garda vetting unit in Thurles does have a lot of extra staff at the moment, and I would want to put it on the record of the House that many deputies here before have raised the issue of the delays in Garda vetting, though that time period now has been reduced very considerably. But I do take the point you're making. Clearly this is an urgent issue. As I say, we are in contact with both the data protection commissioners, and clearly we'll be taking it up. My staff are involved in trying to find a resolution to this, because, as you say, it is an urgent issue.
Deputy Troy, I'll let you back in.
Thank you, Well, Minister, this is a pure example of bureaucracy gone mad. What you're saying here now today is that let them go and get a second Garda vetting from the vetting organisation in Tipperary. I'll agree the waiting times has reduced, but they're still considerable. They're weeks. People are weeks waiting on Garda vetting. What is wrong with a training organisation who have recently obtained a Garda vetting in respect of a pupil or student, passing on a letter to the service provider who they're going in to do their training with for a number of weeks to say, this person has been Garda vetted? I don't think there should be any problem, good, bad or indifferent with that. And you have said that you have been working on this, Minister, that you're aware of the problems that this is causing to so many service providers, so many training institutions, yet still you seem surprised by the reply I read out from Minister Shatter. So, Minister, when can we see a satisfactory and speedy resolution to this issue? Because my colleague has quite clearly outlined the ramifications that's happening in Donegal. That has been repeated the length and breadth of this country.
Thank you. Deputy McConnell, do you want to put your another supplement?
Yeah, thank you. Minister, I don't think it's an acceptable solution at this point in time to be suggesting that we actually have to go through the second Garda vetting because of the fact that there's still a significant number of weeks. I might ask you to update us on what exactly your view of the current delays are at the Garda vetting office. I know it was up to 15 or 16 weeks a month or two ago. I think Deputy Troy, Minister, is putting forward a very sensible solution here. I think many students are currently in a very sticky wicket and not able to proceed in the manner planned with their course and their placement, because this is a real delay and a real problem right now, and is continuing to be. And unless there's a real immediate solution, they will continue to be in a situation where they can't actually progress as planned. I think Deputy Troy has put forward a very good solution, Minister. I would ask you, can you explore that, but also can you update us on what the Garda vetting current delay is, which is very much unacceptable, and it's not just implying a problem in relation to this issue, but it's a problem to many other organisations too.
Thank you.
Well, I understand that quite a large number of significant staff a significant number of staff have been appointed to the Garda Vetting Bureau. And as you know, the delays were of the order of 14 and 15 weeks. And most recent information I've had was that it's been reduced down to 5 or 6 weeks. So I think that's a very substantial change. It's all very well to say that, Deputy Troy, in relation to the sharing of information, but this has been central to the integrity of the Garda vetting process. Many organisations have argued in the past that you should simply perhaps give, as it were, a passport in relation to vetting that you would carry from different organisations. But there has been concern that you would undermine the integrity of the vetting legislation and the safety. And at the centre of the vetting legislation is the safety of children and making sure that people are vetted, and that organisations have that vetting in place for their particular organisation. I do take the point that you're making in relation to the college and placements, and I will obviously ensure that we get a resolution as speedily as possible. I do need to see whether the same rules apply as have applied in regard to vetting in the past regarding the sharing of information between different organisations. It's been very clearly said that that cannot happen. Whether the position in relation to a college placement and the vetting that they have with the college have already got suffices for the college placement, clearly I understand the point that you're making, and I want to see a resolution to this as quickly as possible. I will come back to you.
Thank you.